Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by Boyle Sports.
New customers can get a bet £10, get £30 in free bets and a £10 casino bonus offer. And you can also get a 50% bet builder boost on Chelsea versus Spurs this weekend. To claim this exclusive offer, follow the link in the description below.
And we want to say a big thank you to all of our subscribers on YouTube, because we are now at 45,000 subscribers on YouTube. We want to get to 50k though.
We've got all this competition now, Nat, and we've got to keep improving our podcasts, hopefully. I hope you're enjoying them.
Yeah, we want to get to 50,000 before Christmas, please. And like Sam says, we know there's loads of options, so we really appreciate you watching ours. Very excited today because we are going to be joined by one of England's most enduring and influential figures in football, with a career spanning more than half a century, Sam.
No, I thought I've been a long time in football, but this man has spent and dedicated most of his life, or adult life, to the game, and still does. But he's up here today to do the podcast. I've spent many years on the LMA committee with him. We still meet up on that committee when we do eventually get a call to meet up now and again. But we wanted to invite him up today for two reasons. One, to listen to him, and two, to promote his book. He's brought out a book which is Just One More Goal, which is the autobiography by David Pleat. And there it is. So it'll be a great read for anybody that follows football. His long, distinguished career and all the stories that go with it is in there. And I'll let David tell us where he's donating the money and the proceeds to the book. So, David, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I've got, I nearly said I don't need the money. I don't need the money. It was a labour of love. I did it during COVID. My wife passed away 5 years ago. And for many years, people have been saying to me, well, not seriously, why don't you write a book? You've had a few experiences, you met a lot of people, you must have a lot of anecdotes, you must have a lot of stories. And I said, I can't write it yet. I'm sorry to say I'm waiting for a few people. This is a terrible thing to say, a few people to pass away. I waited long enough, and during COVID I decided to put pen to paper. And I did write it, handwritten. I remember
all of it.
Yes, I remember. I remember ringing Alex and said, "How did he do his autobiography?"
462 pages.
Well, and Alex said that he made notes every so often. But I've got quite a good memory, and although I can't remember the exact dates and times, I had a very good helper, a man called Tim Rich, Manchester man, a very good journalist, very nice guy, who dotted the I's, crossed the T's, and put a bit of colour in it. So if I might have mentioned something in a certain year when the miners' strike was on, which wouldn't have been in the book, he might have just put that in, that at the time there was a problem with the government, etc. So, the book was written, and at least now I can hand it to my son or my grandchildren, and that's a record of so far of my career.
Can you give us a feel for what people can expect from the book?
Well, it's how I started. My parents, my first memories of watching a game on a grainy black and white television, a rented television. Yeah. We had it for the coronation in 1953. In 1954, the World Cup, Germany beat Hungary. They were losing 2-0 and overturned it 3-2. My mother went crazy. My mother was Jewish. And, 9 years after the Holocaust, various people of that religion, of course, had lost their lives. And I always remember her going, saying certain things to me. And I didn't realise the meaning of it all at that time. I was only 9 years old. But I remember the final. It went 3-2. And then that's how basically the book starts. And then it went on from there, really. And I was... I nearly said good enough, but I played for my schoolboy team, and I was quickly elevated to the county team. I got an England schoolboy trial. Several of those players did
Sounds like me, doesn't it?
Yeah. Some of those players did very well afterwards. People like Ron Harris, Len Badger in my team. Ray Hewitt, centre forward, went to Man United, and my good friend Barry Fry.
Oh, Barry, still going at Peterborough.
He's still in existence, Barry Fry, and he was the inside right that day. And he never fails to tell people that I crossed the ball at Wembley against Scotland and he nodded it in to the top corner. But he doesn't tell people about the goal I scored in that game. And we beat Scotland 5-3. And George Graham was in that team for Scotland. And I played against a guy called Bob Boncoeur. Went to Newcastle United. Yeah. Bobby Moncur.
Still a legend there.
And I had a good game that day. We won 5-3, but that's history. Played at Forest, enjoyed my time at Forest, but then they started signing other players in my position, and I saw the red flag. Mm-hmm. And Peter Taylor, who was very much my mentor, colleague of Brian Clough, of course, over there, he said, you need first team football. I was then a youth international, but I was coming 18, 19, and I was at that age where I was impetuous to get in the first team, saw it dissolving, and I was a bright star, but the star slowly dissolved. I went down the leagues, broke my leg, got a back injury, various problems. And very briefly, in the football career, I got geography A level. I went to Shrewsbury, Exeter, Plymouth, finished at Nuneaton as player manager. So I got geography A level. And that was the start of my management career at Nuneaton, which was a great grounding because it was a non-league club.
Yeah.
You make that sound so easy, David. I did this, and I played for England, then I did this, and I did this. So you made it sound so easy. In the book as well, of course, the big threads that come out throughout the book is the changing nature of football.
Yes, of course.
The idea that the game continues to go in cycles, which,
yes.
I mean, we're very much... We've
talked
just
about
been talking
about that, yeah.
We
the long throw and the...
yes.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that.
Well, Sam's a big statistic man. He always was, and he benefited from that and was successful with that. And there's a place for that, of course. But at the moment, I'm concerned about one particular aspect, and it's not VAR necessarily. There are certain things. I mean, we're not talking about the commercialism of the game, the way the game has changed. But the way I don't like long throws. And I heard a lady pundit the other week saying she's getting bored with long throws. And I was in my armchair and I clapped. Nearly said collapsed. But watching it, I thought, yes, the centre-back, and it was a lower league game, was going over from one side of the field to the other. And even the man Partey, who was a very good player at the Arsenal in a semi-final, was going in the last 10 minutes for Arsenal, which is a great football club who played wonderful football over the years, great traditions, great inspirational players. And they were throwing the ball in the box and saying basically fight ball, because that's what it is. I'm just saying, at the moment, I'm not happy with the long throws. And it's coming back into the game where people see it as a tactic. So you can get a player who has inadequate quality on the ball, may have not great athleticism, but by Christ, he can throw a long ball. I don't see that. When I take my philosophy on the game from certain people. Ron Greenwood was a great manager at West Ham. He said simplicity is genius.
Yeah.
Brian Clough said, if God wanted the pitch to be in the sky, he would have put the pitch there, keep the ball on the ground. And the great Bob Paisley at Liverpool said, we pass it to the nearest man, preferably in a red shirt, but preferably forward. Yeah. That's how football should be played.
Yeah. What about leadership on the pitch, David? Because do you find that you talk about the amount of people in the technical area, the amount of coaches, the amount of people.
Yes.
I feel like players would sort themselves out on the pitch. The captain would sort
leaders.
themselves out.
We had more leaders. Then.
Yes.
I was lucky. Sam's a leader. Because I became a manager, because he had a little bit more intelligence than the average person. I had a very good leader, very lucky. You've got to be lucky as well as a good judge. Brian Horton was a wonderful leader for me at Luton Town over a 2 or 3 year period. It was a 5-year successful period, but he was very important to it for the first 3 years. I think he was 32 when I took him from Brighton.
I love Brian.
But you don't have to be, what's the word? You have to be brainy to play in the position he played in, but you have to have the respect of the other players and also the respect of the manager, so the manager can talk to the leader and know in confidence that he's going to have the trust of the players.
Yeah. Other things that seem to have shifted massively, and obviously thinking about your experience as well with inside clubs, seems to be the process of signing a player. Obviously, you were recently at Spurs. Can you take us through the kind of process of scouting a player and signing a player, and how much, and we talk about head coaches and managers, how much involvement does the head coach have in that process?
Well, he's having less now than he ever had before. Before, the manager, if I go back to David Moyes' first, but I think it was centre forward. He was a centre forward. I mean, he was with him for years. But he had an assistant, and he always had a chief scout. He had a close people. Peter Taylor used to say to me, 2's company, 3's a crowd. He also used to say the players will take the milk out your tea, which is one of the things that I use in there. He said, when I took my first job, he helped me get it at Nuneaton. He said, beware the players, they'll take the milk out your tea. But no, the fact is that you definitely need leaders. And in terms of scouting, what's happened now is there's too many departments. You recommend a player. You might see a player out who you quite like. So you send a report in, then it goes to the analyst, then it goes to the recruitment man, then the head of recruitment, then the assistant head. And there's too many channels to go through. But of course, in the end, the only man that really signs a player, and no one realises this, is the bank manager. The bank manager in the end decides if the chairman says we're going to support the manager, have we got the 20 million or whatever, can we do it? How
I've never heard this one, man. I've never heard it.
The
Put it
bank
that way
manager.
before, yeah.
He's the one that decides in the end how we're going to phase the payment, or can we do it? I don't know. Football's a wonderful game, but sometimes it baffles you.
It does. I mean, all the time. If there's one area of your reputation, obviously, that really stands out throughout your, huge career, it is the scouting side of it. And I feel like nobody epitomises the eye test more than you do. So when you're sitting in
the experience and the eye test and the knowledge is everything. But I mean, I've only had one who I could talk around like David, and that was, an absolute worldie to have along, Jack Chapman.
You got the car for? I always remember the story.
I gave him my car to scout him because they had him in an old Cortina and he was doing thousands of miles. So I gave him my S-Class Mercedes, which was against the board, against your level of employment. What you're doing, he's a chief scout
down there,
and I said no, he does 40,000 miles, and he needs this. So I'm giving him my car because you're too tight. I don't give a damn about your scale. Yeah, of course I was doing very well when I did that.
Yes, of course,
which of course you had to.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? But Jack was one and only man in my entire time with Chief Scouts, and they had some good ones and they had some bad ones that I said yes to without me watching myself.
Yes.
Rare.
The managers in those days always watch players themselves.
Well. Always.
The most I ever watched a player was 6 times. A young little inside forward at Walsall. I was worried about his height. He was 5'6", but he proved a very good signing. I was lucky, a lad called David Pleat. But that was the most I ever watched a player. If you watch a player too much, you'll see the downsides and you'll start
put you off him,
putting you off and start worrying you. So sometimes your first look. I remember signing Mike Newell. I saw him play for Wigan Reserves at Derby one day, and he let the ball run across his body. He did a feint and let it run, just like Brooking would do from throw-ins. And I thought, I signed Mike Newell. And I think it was Ron Greenwood. Charlie Woods was a very good scout for me at one stage in my career. A lad called Charlie Woods at Newcastle. We went with Bobby, loved Bobby Robson. And Charlie always said that... is there something that takes your eye? Is there something that you
catches
like?
Your eye, yeah.
Is there something that you like?
Yeah.
And it's the analysts and these guys, the data guys in the office. They're looking. It's like VAR. They're looking to stop a goal rather than to score a goal.
Yeah.
I'm looking to create rather than to destroy.
A lot of that's my fault there because I started it.
Well,
I'm sad to say. I was data analysis like way before.
I know he started it. But I have to say to you, Sam, one thing I've always wanted to say to you. I remember speaking to you on the touchline when you brought Bolton to Tottenham. I think I was director of football at the time. And I looked at your team sheet. I said, Sam, what's this team? Why are you playing this week's team tonight? And he said that you said league game's more important. I think we beat a 5-0.
Yeah, we did. You did
5-0.
Yeah, I got slaughtered. For changing the team.
But Sam, you could go on and win the League Cup. I think it was a League Cup.
Yeah, it was.
You could win it with your team, your first team. And so you're not being selfish. You could be selfish.
I could have been. Yeah,
it could have been. I said it could be on your CV, a cup winner. But I always remember that. Were you manager also when Paul Mwamba collapsed at Tottenham? No, I was in the commentary that day. Then. That was a nasty situation with Bolton. But anyway, regardless. So Sam conceded his own pride, if you like, for the team that day, more important than having a cup run. Yeah. And the one thing I did, I never won many cups, but I won a championship once by a street. And I held Luton in a very good position for a few years, considering.
Well, they love you, Luton.
My budget, comparatively, was tiny compared with the big clubs.
It'd be bottom of the league, wouldn't it?
Well,
you would take the league, and this is what Deloitte do.
Yeah, but yeah.
And you look at the budgets
Of every team.
team.
Are you above the budget?
And Deloitte will predict
yes.
that's where most clubs will finish.
Well, it will give the order of their...
Yeah, but some people obviously
beat
over-exceed and then fall back.
I'll give
and
you
then
an example. Last year, Tottenham Hotspur under Postecoglou finished 17th. They would have budgeted, I know this because I was on the board for a while, would have budgeted for 8th or above, always. So every stop down is 20 million now.
Yeah.
They would have lost so much money.
Manchester City in the Champions League as well.
Yes, they got some back through being lucky to win the cup. They got a bit back, but they lost money heavily through the league position.
In terms of when you were at Spurs, obviously scouted for them for a long, long time. The list of
managed them.
Oh, well, in terms of the scouting,
Yeah.
the managers that you worked at when you were scouting, the list of Spurs' managers. So you were there through Harry Redknapp, Villa Boas, Tim Sherwood, Pochettino, Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, and Ange.
Well, I was certainly there the day that Christian Gross
came
in, and he flourished his ticket and said, on the underground. He came on the underground from the airport to the ground, and he made a big mistake. Alan Sugar, interesting person, Lord Alan Sugar. In case he listens to this podcast.
Oh yes, you have to call him Lord Alan.
Sir Alan, and Lord Alan. And but he that's when he brought me back from Sheffield Wednesday. He said, "Would you be director of football?" And as it happened, looking back, I was the first. Didn't know much about the job, and I remember Harry ringing me. He was working for Mr. Mandarich, and Harry was Ricks was the manager. And I rang Harry one day. I said, "How are you getting on, Harry? You're kind of director of football type thing." He said, "Dave, what is this job? This job's no bloody good." He said, "All I do is chaperone, take Mandarich round to games." He says, "What do you do? What are you doing?" I said, "Harry, director of football, it's a wonderful job. The strategy, you're involved with the academy, you're in the meetings, you're the hub of the club. It could be a wonderful job." But Harry didn't. It wasn't suited for him. I think in his way it was suited to me. And I would like to have done a few more games, I think, managing. But I made that decision to come out. And, Mourinho was interesting.
Was they,
they were all interesting in their own way.
Did they have different relationships with you as a scout? Did
someone
more info?
I was, as director of football, I was never, ever close.
To any of them.
Glenn Hoddle, I had a quite, not fractious relationship, but everyone was in awe of Glenn Hoddle. He was this great player. People were scared to say too much to him. But when he finding it difficult with the results, he did speak to me a little bit more, which was probably expected. George Graham came in. I never had a problem. I know when Sam started at Millwall, he had a difficult relationship with George, who was trying to impose himself and in his first job and make it all about George. But George Graham came in. At least we spoke about football. We were. I was part of it, but it didn't work out because he'd been the Arsenal manager. And when he came, I remember Sugar saying to me, "What's the worst possible scenario?" I said, "Look, if we don't do well, he's Arsenal manager. The supporters will want him out. He was famed for winning 1-0, 1-0, 1-0 at the Arsenal. They want attractive football at Tottenham. Tottenham were even prepared to concede at the time, I felt, trophies in playing this glory football, which made everyone like this beautiful game. So George wasn't really the right man for us, but he wanted to get back to London. And I remember Ridsdale was his chairman at Leeds, and he tells me a different story. But I said to Sugar, I can't tell you the figures. I said, what's the worst possible situation? He says, well, it'll cost, if we get rid of him, it'll cost us X. And I said, well, that's not too bad. I remember saying that. I was rather a frugal manager. That's not too bad. But then later on, I spoke to Ridsdale, years later. I said, tell me something, Mr. Ridsdale. What did Sugar pay, Mr. Sugar, pay you for George? And it wasn't the same figure. So they don't always tell the truth, the chairman.
Well, no, not at all. No,
they are custodians of the club. They got to run the club. I mean, Daniel Levy's just left Tottenham. He's done 24 years. And was
he forced out?
Oh, it's a long story. I don't know. It's a very
are
delicate
the Suns-
situation.
Is it the Suns taking over, or is that not
Well,
true?
Josh's son works for Joe Lewis, who's in America and's got various financial
So has
companies.
Joe Lewis relinquished that control between Daniel and him, and he's coming in?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
there's obviously a fallout. Joe Lewis's
Yeah.
daughter Vivian is now kind of controlling with the the son-in-law of Vivian Lewis. They've employed the guy from Arsenal, who was there, supposed to be very successful. Vinay, I can't pronounce his surname, but he's supposed to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be very fascinating. I like the manager. I like the manager.
Thomas Frank,
He's a very nice man.
Thomas Frank's good
He's
lad.
a very pleasant guy as well.
He picks the phone up when you ring him, you know.
He is a pleasant man.
I like that. You know, when you come talk about foreign manager, you
Yes.
pick the phone up, Thomas Frank, and he does not. He'll ring you back. He'll
Yeah.
have a good
I'll tell
conversation with you. He loves talking football.
Yeah, I'll tell you in confidence. I spoke to him recently about a player. I said, Thomas, anyway, the bottom line was, he said, David, thanks for that. He said, I'm sorry I'm a bit late in replying, but thanks for that. He said, we're going off in another direction. It was to do with signing a certain player. I'd seen a player which Celtic, for example, who I'm helping at the moment, weren't too interested in or couldn't afford or whatever. And I mentioned it to Thomas Frank because he's been very kind to me. When he first came into this country, he sat in a box. I can tell you the game. Tottenham were playing the last game of Harry Kane at Tottenham. He scored for Harry Kane. They beat Shakhtar Donetsk in a friendly 5-1. And Harry went round the game at the end, waving to the crowd with his wife and his 3 children at the time. And they put me in a box that day with Areola and from Bournemouth, who'd just taken the job, and Frank, who'd just taken the job at Brentford. Yeah. And I can remember what a pleasant man he was. And after that, I've been to Brentford I enjoyed watching Brentford last season, I have to say, when he was there. And I thought Mbuemo, incidentally, so, pound for pound, what a player. Yeah. He was so good. Yeah. He was so good. He defended 1 second. He's attacked. He was
scoring
excellent.
A goal.
Mbuemo, he made goals. He scored goals. Yeah. Anyway, regardless of that. So at least he'd met me and he knew me. And I was very pleased to meet him. And I hope he does very, very well.
He started good, didn't he?
It started all right.
Really
It started all right. He's got a bigger staff now. He's got the budget's been increased, so that should, the current.
So the shackles comes off if Daniel Levy's not there anymore. A little bit, do you think? Or
yes, but you've got to say this.
The debt's been reduced on the stadium, surely.
Yeah, you've got to say this. When Wenger took over Arsenal, when they moved to the Emirates for a few years.
It all went.
They couldn't win it. They couldn't win games because the debt
couldn't buy the replacements to win the league, could it?
And it was the money.
The
debt. They didn't have the money because of the stadium. And Tottenham, to be fair to Daniel Levy's legacy, which is a wonderful legacy, the training ground is spot on.
Yeah.
He rang me a couple of times when I was at West Ham. Because he thought he could do a deal with me, and I said, look, because you know the fractions between David.
Yeah, it was a fractious relationship,
to say the least. Like
West Ham and Tottenham.
West Ham and Tottenham. You know what I mean? It was like, getting mixed up. So, because Harry wanted Scott Parker, and Harry rings up and says, Sam, Scott Parker, like him, we want him like you, man. What do you want? I said, it's simple, Harry. Absolutely simple. David said it's 6 million quid. Take it or leave it. Well, Sam, his age and Daniel won't go that far because he's old. He's not getting on like you. I said, Harry, it's £6 million. That's it. Just the 6 million is yours. Says, I sold him from Newcastle to West Ham for 6 million. So he's England international, more so than when and it's 6 million. I said, there's not often a chairman lets me say it's 6 million. But David Sullivan has.
Well, there's two things, Scott. You got Player of the Year at West Ham, football football writers in the only one ever in a relegated team. There's a stat.
And so in the end, Daniel rang me,
right.
And I said,
it's 6 million.
Look, it's 6 million. I said, Harry wants him. I said, we need to get rid of him. But
Yeah.
you spoke to David, and
Yes,
David
yeah.
won't budge.
Yeah, of
I
course.
said, in other words, if I tell David you've spoke to me, he'll put the price up.
Yes, of course.
You know what I mean? And say, oh, bollocks to it, Sam. We
Did they
want
buy
8
him?
million.
Yeah.
Bought him
6 million.
6 million.
Thing about West Ham, the reason, as much as anything, for the slightly fractious relationship is because I've used the word engineered, or were able to get the stadium off the London Council after the Olympic Games,
Yeah.
and they pay what we consider Tottenham a peppercorn rent.
2 million a year, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's nothing, and they get 60,000 people.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
it,
West Ham's a big club with a wonderful
club,
reputation.
yeah.
The list of players that you were involved with getting at Spurs is some incredible list. Just a few of the names like Gareth Bale, Ericsson, Vertonghen, Dele
I
Alli.
didn't. It's a group thing. It's never
Yes,
ever
yes.
one
one.
man.
Involved. I used the
Involved,
word
yes.
involved.
Yeah.
Yes,
Involved.
We're all in it.
Involved.
We're all
To
in
make that
it,
clear.
yeah.
I went to see Son, who was a hero, who was a lovely, lovely man. I went to watch him play in Hamburg on behalf of Tottenham. Didn't fancy him too much. But I found out afterwards, Frank Arneson, who'd been at Tottenham,
Yes, yeah.
he was then director of football at Hamburg, who were doing badly. Frank always got a job because he was very well connected, he was an agent himself, and long
Yeah.
story, he was Danish and Soren Lerby. Long
I
story.
know all them myself.
However, so I didn't play that well. I came back to Tottenham. I said I can't recommend him on this performance. So to be fair, a certain person of the board said, David said, if we take him it's £12 million it was. If we take him commercially, it's worth X. It's a massive thing. I said, all I can say is he didn't do well enough for me on the day. Bottom line was, we didn't take him. He went to Bayer Leverkusen and did very, very well
And then you
for the
took
next year. And we paid 22 million for him. Probably, retrospectively, that extra year made all the difference. But when he first came to Tottenham, he didn't hit it straight away. It was a while before he got in. He was a charming man. He was a lovely man. He'd speak to everyone.
Oh,
And I'm going to tell you, if there was 60,000 in the stadium, I guarantee there was 5,000 South Koreans.
Yeah. Is it true you scouted Robert Van Persie for Spurs before he joined Arsenal?
I went to see Van Persie play for Feyenoord. Came on as sub. The manager was Ruud Gullit. I remember very clearly in the room that day was Arrigo Sacchi, who I wasn't introduced to, and he wouldn't have known me. But I watched
He's
Van
got a
Persie,
better memory than me, by the way.
and
Some
I
memory,
have
yeah.
to,
Bloody
and
hell.
I have to tell you, once again, so you've caught me on a bad day today. I didn't fancy him. He came on as sub. His shirt was out his shorts. He had long hair. His socks were rolled down. He looked a disgrace. The man who
There
told
you
me
go.
to go and get him was a man called Steve Stammers, a journalist in London, who was his son was a big Arsenal supporter, and he knew Arsenal had been looking at him, and Arsenal were, not sure.
Okay.
They for all sorts of reasons, which I realised. He was a bit of a bohemian. It was a big character, family-wise. Now manager of Feyenoord, you know. Anyway, I went to watch him. I didn't fancy him. I came back quite simply and said, you couldn't take him on that. He came on a sub, 20 minutes. And once again, what we should have done, it's easy for me to say this now, Arsenal had already not gone ahead and done it, but I knew they were looking at him, but they had decided at that time not to do it. And a man called Steve Rowley, God rest his soul, big, lovely man, chief scout of Arsenal, they went back and took the gamble. His price had come down for about £2.5 million, and he went from Feyenoord to Arsenal and did wonderfully well, and he's now manager of Feyenoord.
Yeah.
Yeah, Van Persie.
See, I always found it really hard. Our life, and I'd say this, our life was a lot harder finding a player for the Premier League than the top clubs. I always found it easy, much easier to pick it. I went abroad every week, every other week, or every week, and come back, and then went into training for the game, and then Sunday I'd be out again because I wanted to find out whether I could spot a player.
Mm.
I found out I could spot a player in England. Can I find a spot a player abroad? So I'd go out with the scouts, and we'd get looked after, and the clubs were very good, and we'd go and watch. So there was always an emphasis on it's on your head. And I'm looking at football, particularly at Bolton in the early days, from Denmark, because signed a few, Iceland, places like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Finland. So I'm along with the scouts, backing my judgment based on you can fit him in. It's what you want. Is he going to be good enough for the Premier League? And often they can be great in that country and not be good in the Premier League. You take a bit of a gamble, and they're even better than you think when they get here because they cope better with it. They adjust better. They change. They change their life. They're so happy to be there. When he got much farther on, and I'm signing JJ Okocha, it's a doddle.
They had two great players. I consider them great players. A wing back at Sheffield Wednesday called Petrescu, trained as hard as anyone, and Di Canio, Italian, crazy man, but trained so hard when he trained. And they would pick out any other player who wasn't training to their level. Their standards were very, very high.
Very good.
We often talk about the players coming into the Premier League, but it's fascinating as well when you have the English players that go out, and we've seen it with Harry Kane, who continues.
Good on Harry,
the goals, the records.
Ripping up the records,
phenomenal, isn't it?
Ripping up. They hadn't won the league when he got there. Didn't win the league.
No, didn't win the league. He went.
No.
Who
was the manager?
He's a lovely
Who was the
guy.
manager when they didn't win the league? Total.
Who's the manager when they did?
Yeah.
Your mate.
Harry was. People say to me, "What was the secret?"
Luckiest manager in the world.
People say to me, "What was the secret of Harry Kane?" Very good, steady mind, because he'd had disappointments at Norwich, Leicester.
It took him a long time to get in, though, David, didn't it?
4 loans.
When he went out on loan.
Orient.
Yeah, Orient. I remember I was at West Ham and he came when he was at Norwich.
Yes,
Norwich. He got taken off at half time.
Leicester City.
And then all of a sudden.
Worked very hard at his game. He wasn't the quickest. That was his own, if you look at him as a player. But he seemed to put on a little bit of pace, which was interesting. He was quick in the mind, quick to see things. But he told me once he had an injury, and his rehabilitation and his recovery was so good that he found, and he got stronger during this recovery. He got stronger, and that helped him. He thought he got a bit more.
So he must have carried that on then.
A bit more urgency in his running. He played in the academy with Mason, who's now at West Brom as manager. They were so good together as a combination. But the brilliance of Kane is he can hit a shot with his left foot to his right foot. He doesn't have to transfer it onto his good foot, and that's time. That's a brief second.
Yeah.
He can do it so quickly, whereas other players have to put it onto their good foot. I mean, he's a great person.
Can you see a world where he comes back in the Premier League?
He's a special person. He could come
33.
back. Yeah, yeah.
He won't come back.
Yeah.
No, David.
Well, he's
less Tottenham money.
I mean, he's a wonderful.
I heard Man United turned him down.
Oh,
yeah.
What would they do?
Well, Daniel told me, which is.
Well, you'll know better.
Well, it's in the book. It's in the book.
You know more than me. Get the book.
Get the book. It's in the book. The Harry Kane is in the book.
Yeah.
Particularly Manchester City, incidentally.
Yeah.
When they signed Grealish, for 100 million, that was the end of Harry Kane going to them. But then, according to Daniel, so I'm not out of school here, they never picked up the phone. It was all paper talk. About 150 million.
Yeah.
They didn't. No, they didn't. They were waiting. They were playing a game, as most managers do.
Well, if you got the player that's going to commit.
He never made the 100.
Isak is committed to go to Liverpool.
Yes.
And then doesn't turn in for training.
Yeah.
Then eventually.
Yes, of course.
You're going to have to do something about it, aren't you?
And I told Daniel at the time. I remember. I said, if you get whatever you think he's worth, or you eventually agree, if you do agree, make sure you get 2 players from Man City from their academy, Delap and Palmer.
Oh, no, did you?
I did say that.
And look at them both.
As part of the deal.
As
part of the deal. Well, it was obvious. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not secret watching real quality. Sam knows.
Yeah,
I know.
But
it's not secret.
But there's an education in scouting that's never really talked about often enough. There's a longevity that breeds so much into you about what you should or should. When everybody thinks it's all about watch it. There's a lot more to it about keeping your ear to the ground, about listening to what other people say, other scouts will get to know you, and you know such a body.
Yes,
he's
of
fell
course.
out with the manager. You can get him if you want him. All that. You know
Scout.
what I mean? Or sometimes a scout.
They tell you everything. They talk to each
You
other.
know what I mean? Because they go
tell
out in the most obscure times all over, and it's cold, it's wet, doesn't matter. They're there. They're not. They're like they're like saying they're a scout. You know what I mean? They're wonderful people. That do.
They're wonderful people, but sadly, and the downside is that when they meet each other,
they tell everything.
They tell everything. They tell you everything.
David, thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
on.
David.
Just one
Been
more
a pleasure,
goal.
as
Obviously,
always.
with
Thank
Christmas
you.
coming up as well, everybody keep an eye on
Christmas
that.
coming up.
I
Good show.
need to get into that section
Well, it's a good book, and
about
it's
If you
Harry
like
Kane
football,
and-
It's a good book for good causes, a few anecdotes, and a few things I think in there when you look at it again that maybe young managers coming in, like silly anecdotes, but maybe there's something in them.
And the money's
Anyway,
going
it's been
to MND.
absolutely
MND.
lovely for me to come see such a charming lady and such a
Great to
wonderful,
see you, David, as
a
always.
wonderful old manager.
Old manager.
I feel
No
like we-
longer
yeah.
managing.
Well, we'll
Sam,
see.
You know,
Thank
they keep saying never say never.
Never say
But
never.
the
I am
problem
saying
is,
that now.
you
Yeah.
may still have some energy. I haven't got the energy, so I
You've
know.
got the memory, David.
I know.
Crikey.
I know when I'm finished.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you
no.
so much. Well, you're not finished. You're still with Celtic.
Well,
You're not, yeah.
I'm still helping a little bit.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
We
Pleasure.
really very do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Sam, thank
See
you
ya.
very much. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, everybody, as always, for watching us on No Tippy Tappy Football. We really, genuinely appreciate your support. Have a wonderful week. We love you all. See you soon.
New customers can get a bet £10, get £30 in free bets and a £10 casino bonus offer. And you can also get a 50% bet builder boost on Chelsea versus Spurs this weekend. To claim this exclusive offer, follow the link in the description below.